And our final speaker of the first section founded World Creativity and Innovation Day to encourage and celebrate creativity in ourselves, in the world, and everywhere in between. In 2017, the United Nations General Assembly resolved to include the World Creativity and Innovation Day among their days of observance. She was acknowledged by the Canadian government for her ongoing efforts in fostering a greater domestic culture of innovation and in representing her home of Canada on the world stage. Fun fact about her, her backyard is the Rocky Mountains. Please welcome Marci Siegel.
Thank you. We have a day. We have a day because traditional thinking got us to where we are now. We got a day because the United Nations, in its wisdom, sees that we need to have new kinds of thinking to face the challenges ahead of us. I'm afraid to push this button. Creativity isn't what it used to be. Creativity used to be marginalized, and now it's mainstream. Creativity used to be feared, and now it's welcomed. Aha. The reason World Creativity and Innovation Day exists is because of this man. And because of all the researchers and all the practitioners and all the books that have been written and all the speeches that have been made that have brought creativity to public awareness and to acceptance. In 1977, when I told my friends and family that I was going to Buffalo to study creativity, they said, "You're going where to do what? Can't you study something real?" Who would have known back then that today would be happening? In 1977, in September, I took my first course in creativity with Dr. Sid Parnes. And on day one of that class, he handed us each a blue examination booklet. And he said, "Here, solve a problem. And when you're finished, put your name on the cover and hand it in." I had no idea what to do. So I opened the cover, I wrote 2 + 2 = 4, put my name on the cover and gave it to him. I was out of the class in less than a minute. At the end of the semester, I didn't know this at all. Sid did the exact same thing. He gave us a blue examination booklet and said, "Solve a problem." This time, I used the creative problem-solving process that I'd learned throughout that semester. I immediately opened the cover and started to write, "Wouldn't it be nice if?" And in 90 minutes, I framed a challenge, generated ideas, mapped a solution. I was ecstatic. I'd had a couple of breakthroughs along the way, saw things that I hadn't seen before. And when it was over, I closed the booklet, I put my name on the cover, and before I handed it to Sid, I said, "Can I have this back when you're finished?" Wouldn't it be nice if the whole world had that kind of confidence in their capacity to come up with new ideas and make new solutions, to take new actions and achieve new outcomes, that they know what to do in using creativity and problem solving? And I think that's why we have that day. From Sid, I learned that we can use creativity and problem solving. From Ruth, our mentor, the guide by the side, I learned some important lessons as well. One is that the impossible takes just a little bit longer. Another is that every challenge that faces us presents an opportunity for us to live a richer and more meaningful life in the way that we approach its solution. And from Ruth, I also learned a very important lesson, a third one. I told her that I wanted to have creative studies as my undergraduate major. And she said, "Marci, that's not possible. Creativity must be applied to something." So I selected cultural anthropology as my undergraduate major. And in my 4th year as a senior, I asked Dr. Jill Nash, a cultural anthropologist, "What is creativity from your perspective?" And I'll always remember this. She said, "Marci, creativity is bad manners." Do something creative at the dinner table, and what happens? you get your hand slapped. That's what creativity is. So I left my undergraduate career with some major lessons under my belt. 1, you can use creativity in problem solving. Yeah? 2, the impossible takes a little bit longer. 3, creativity has to be applied to something. And 4, creativity is bad manners. By the time I left graduate school years later, I had a couple of other messages or learnings and principles. One is, I don't know how to say this. Would you not agree that each one of us is the product of a creative act? Each one of us carries within us a seed to procreate. That energy is within us. So we can transform that energy to create new and different things. We can make new combinations. That's 1. 2 is the way that we go about using our creativity is individual. We express it uniquely. It's a natural energy we all have, and we express it uniquely. And finally, I learned that whether you plan for it or not, creativity will seep in just like water. So wouldn't it be nice if what we could do is make a space and make a time for people to engage? But how do you get over that bad manners thing? And that became my quest. So as a professional, I learned not to use the word creativity. Instead, I would tell people that we're going to generate new ideas, make new decisions, create some new so ideas, decisions, actions, new outcomes. Ideas, decisions, actions, and outcomes. And then I'd also tell them, you know what? You don't have to be creative to do creative things. There's a tremendous taboo around that word, and I'm still doing my best to decipher why it's laden with that. And people say, stay away from me, I'm not creative. That's a whole nother discussion. Hand slap. Water. Oh. 2001, May 25th, this happened. Have you ever had a moment where you see something and you know your life is about to change? When I saw this headline that said, Canada in creativity crisis, I freaked out. Worse than that, I lost it. Worse than that. It's just like, what? The article that this was reporting on was about a debate between scientists and artists. And they were debating who between them is more creative. Give me a break. This is what we have to spend time on. Who is more creative? Hello, we all have the capacity. Can't we just use it? So I used mine. And on that day, World Creativity and Innovation Day, April 21st, was born. And thanks to people here at the center and from the Creative Education Foundation, the first celebrations occurred starting in 2002. Now the purpose for World Creativity and Innovation Day was, right, space and time. To give people said that creativity is frivolous, that I can't use it, I have to meet my targets, that some people have it, some people don't. I mean, it was just nuts. And so I said, here's a time. You don't have to use it all the time, you can use it this day. And let's celebrate the fact that we can make a difference. Let's celebrate that we can generate new ideas, make new decisions, take new actions, and achieve new outcomes to make the world a better place and to make our place in the world better too. It caught on? The first years, a few nations, people in 50 nations are celebrating worldwide. It's like Mother's Day. We all have a mother, and we have a special day for celebrating our mother. We all have creativity, we do innovation daily, and we have a day to celebrate that we can. And we have a year that we can build up to it so that we can involve and engage other people in celebrating it as well. And we have a year from that day to lay new ground and to open new doors so that we can make the world a better place and make our place in the world better too. So, I get a call. about 3 years ago from a woman whose name is Ambassador Rhonda King. Out of the blue, and I'm serious, out of the blue, the ambassador called me. She's the permanent representative to the United Nations from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And she said, traditional thinking will not help us out of the mess that we're in now. I found your website because I was looking for a way to bring using creativity in problem solving to the United Nations. May I have your permission to make World Creativity and Innovation Day a UN Day of Observance? I said yes. And so 3 years later, actually this happened this past April 27th, 2010, 2017. She said this as she's presenting the resolution that was sponsored by over 90 nations on the floor of the UN General Assembly. I welled up. I don't know if I will today too. Few attributes of human performance have as much impact on our lives and our world as creativity. Outstanding achievement in the arts and science is held to depend on creativity. Creativity has been linked to the development of new social institutions and the leadership of extant institutions. Creativity, moreover, has been shown to play a role in entrepreneurial activities and long-term economic growth. Developed and developing countries around the world are recognizing the utility in these research findings and are embracing the idea that our creative capital is our most valuable asset today. This is on the floor of the United Nations. We agree that it is an asset and should be deployed in the implementation of Agenda 2030. I don't know if you're familiar with the Sustainable Development Goals that the United Nations brought forward in 2015. When Ambassador King told me about the Sustainable Development Goals, I was a little embarrassed. I hadn't known about them. And when I saw this, have you ever been on a floor where there's glass and a far way down to the ground? The CN Tower, perhaps? Something like that. When I saw this, my jaw dropped, my stomach dropped. Because what she's advocating and what she has brought to the United Nations is using creativity in problem solving to meet all of these goals. And when I saw this, I went, holy Toledo, this is all of life on our planet. We have a day. Antonio Guterres, who is the Secretary General of this session of the United Nations General Assembly, said at the beginning and the opening of the Assembly that the purpose for the United Nations is to create a decent life for all on a sustainable planet. We have a responsibility to help there be an environment besides climate, an environment where new thinking is welcome, where people feel confident putting their ideas forward, where conversations can be held, where we can usher in and help to usher in the age of social responsibility and helping people to relate to each other as humans and to communicate effectively. So we can move away from the age of how much do you earn and what do you do for work, towards, and how are you helping us to reach these goals? We have a day, April 21st, every year. This year, the United Nations will be celebrating it for the first time. It began in 2001 because of a banner headline. And who knew where it would lead to? My invitation to you is 3 people. Spread the word. 3 people. Talk to them. Talk it up. My ask is for you. Do something new and different to keep the energy alive and going. We're in very interesting times right now, and there's lots of opportunity for new thinking, new innovations. And the thing is, we already have the capacity, so why don't we just use it? Thank you.
Thank you, Marci.